Welcome back to Stooge Stream. This is the Stooge. This is our new show, Watch This. We're going to do some movie reviews, people, with a panel, an all-star Stooge cast. Starting with one that you know in the Knockout Fiona.
Knockout Fiona.
G Banks.
G Banks.
And introducing to Stooge Stream for the first time. He's been around for a while, and maybe if you can find our old material, you may have heard this voice. It's the Doctor.
Hi, everybody.
Not that one.
What? Hi there.
Gimmick infringement.
What?
So we're starting with a classic 1989 movie called See No Evil, Hear No Evil, starring none other than Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder, a lady by the name of Joan Severance, and somebody that was a bit of a surprise because I've seen this movie before and totally forgot he was in it, Kevin Spacey. This was directed by Arthur Hillier. The plot of the movie is Richard Pryor's blind as Wally, Gene Wilder, Dave, is deaf, and between them, they witnessed a murder. The cops are trying to pin the murder on them because they're useless New York cops from the 1980s. They break out and are trying to prove their innocence, and hijinks ensue. So let's kick it off from there. Broadly, what did we all think? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll go first. Thank you. I was gonna say the movie actually struck me as a weird comedy. Like, that's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. It was a very serious movie, but at the same time had really funny moments. Like I don't know. It's really hard to explain. It was supposed to be like a dark movie if you think about it. Like, someone dies. You know what I mean? Like, they try and pin it on a blind man and a deaf guy. Like, if you think about it, the context of the movie sounds pretty dark. But the stuff that Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder does, it's absolutely hilarious.
It is. It sits well within the 1980s comedy type movies. If you go back and watch something like Beverly Hills Cop, it's about the alphabet murders. People are getting slaughtered in this movie, but then Eddie Murphy's really funny. So the context is it's a comedy, but they used to do that in the 80s where you get not only a comedy, but an actual movie as well, not just a silly parody. What about you?
Kindergarten Cop. That's the best example I know of.
Yeah, Kindergarten Cop's another one. A serious movie, but like Arnie is hilarious in it.
And it's got he's working in a freaking kindergarten, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of this?
I thought if you didn't have Richard Pryor and Gene, what's his face? Oh, damn it, I forgot his name.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder, sorry. Give him his name. Willy Wonka, that's right. If you didn't have it there, it would be atrocious. It would be boring. It would just be the same old sort of thing. If you didn't have them there, brilliant comedic performances, and what's his face with the mustache?
Kevin Spacey.
Oh God, I'm awful with names tonight.
Kurtgo. What's his name in the movie?
He's got a seriously odd accent. He can't do an English accent.
He's got a seriously odd lump on his face too.
Oh, that too!
I googled that.
Well.
I had to look that up. That was actually a real life cyst that was growing on his face.
Oh, okay.
And he did eventually get it removed not long after that film. It did work for the bad guy character in that movie.
Oh, so he was actually trying to play with it and everything. Yeah, like, I'm going to play with this. I'm going to make sure this is my bad guy symbol. Yeah. No, you look like you were a cancer patient that was about to die. That had some sort of lump in his face. That's what it looked like.
But how good of an actor is that? I got a growth on my face. I'm going to use this.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. He looked absolutely amazing. Like, I would hit that back, 80s Kevin Spacey. But at the same time, I'm scared I'd blow something up in his face. Like, it'd squirt back at me. Like,
Can I just say we're all having pizza right now?
Yeah, sorry about that, dog.
Oh, yum. Whoa.
So if you hear some masticating, we're eating.
Masticating, indeed. I had to look this up in the context of like, where it fitted into the bigger picture. So this is a third movie of not really a trilogy, but of a third offering of these two together. So this is apparently the poor cousin of the other two. So maybe we need to look at that. Look at those.
So the other movies that Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor have done: Silver Streak in 1976, Stir Crazy in 1980, See No Evil, Hear No Evil 1989, the one we're talking about now, and their final movie in 1991 together was Another You. So we'll be definitely looking at some of these later on, I'm sure. But in the meantime, let's talk about some of the scenes. Now, if you haven't watched this movie, I suggest before you listen to the rest of this show, watch it, pause now, go watch it. It's only an hour and 45 minutes, and then come back. Yeah, it's not a huge investment in your life. The reason being, I can see this isn't going to be coherent, because I'm going to want to jump around all over the place, and I'm sure you guys are going to want to as well. So go watch the movie so that the rest of this makes sense. If you've seen it in the past, a lot of this will make sense. Like Fuzzy Wuzzy Was a Woman will make sense to you. But until
Nice legs will make a sense to you.
yeah, nice legs will make sense to you. Solving a murder by nice legs will make sense to you.
They did have nice legs.
That's not the nicest part of her.
Yeah, you see.
80s titties.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another thing, 80s movies, they always got titties out. It just happened.
Like, that was the main lead, the female lead, and she just had a titty out blazing, and I was like, woohoo.
Yeah.
And Gene Wilder took a good look.
Yeah.
Oh, a very good look. This character ticked all those 80s boxes, though. Nice little mix of, sexism, dumb cops, blatant discrimination,
All right, so before we get to Pryor and Wilder, because we're going to have a lot to talk about there, one of my favorite bits of this movie was the buddy comedy subplot that was happening between the police chief and his lieutenant. So basically, the chief was just your typical 80s cop. He's like, I don't care. We're going to arrest these guys, even though the lieutenant's been in there talking to him. He's like, I don't think they did it, chief. He's like, really? You don't know what you're talking about. And he goes in there and questions them. He just wants to arrest somebody and get the thing closed and over with. The other dude's trying to do real detective work. But jump into the end when the police chief's like, I just want to shoot him. And the dude's like, I know, you can't. And puts him in the car. He's like, we'll get you a nice hot chocolate and take you home. He's like, why can't I shoot him?
It's always been that formula, though. Even Simpsons kind of did it with, Chief Wiggum being the dumb, doesn't know what he's doing chief. And then, I don't know, the other two.
The sidekicks.
Yeah, the sidekicks. I don't know.
On.
Yeah, I think their name is Eddie and Carl. Oh, no, that's the other dudes. Yeah, I can't remember the name, but you know what I'm talking about.
you have to go back and watch all of the Police Academy movies, G-Banks. I insist, because that will give you the context for that.
I would not inflict number 3 or 4 onwards, I tell you.
I'd not inflict Steve Gutenberg on anyone.
He was good in the first one. He was good in the first one.
I knew that it starts off.
And Cocoon was actually not bad,
3 and 4 are actually the best if you go back and watch them. in context.
your mouth out.
Would I make you angry if I told you I haven't watched any of them? Oh, I can't remember them, to be honest.
You're a millennial. We'll let you off the hook there. The rest of us are old farts.
All right, so let's start talking about the movie itself. So, in the opening, I like the first interaction between Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor when they don't even know they're interacting. Yeah, Gene Wilder arguing with the truck driver, and then Pryor trying to punch a ghost out. Keep talking, motherfucker!
I like how his sister had to come, what are you doing? Who are you fighting again? Stop it! It's like he's done it before. Right?
See, now I was watching that and I was thinking, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this isn't. I actually don't think this is that offensive to people with disabilities. I think this is disability humour, but it's not offensive. I don't think.
Well, the Institute for Hearing and the Institute for Braille in the United States would actually disagree with you because they disavowed this movie
Oh, really?
after teaching Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor how to act blind and deaf.
Oh God.
Wait, they taught him, but then got pissed off when they made the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, some parts are on the nose, sure, but overall, you just kind of go with
They
that.
had no balance between them. They weren't going hey, I'm blind and dumb, so, you know what I mean? They were actually I'm blind, but that's a problem that I can live with, sort of thing, and, making my advantage at the same time, too.
Yeah, there were some good subplot themes of nothing short of what you would hear in the myriad of fucking,
The guy can read lips, for God's sake.
motivational and self-help literature these day and age. It's all about rising above adversity and stuff. There's little side conversations about that. So,
if you remember, when they got caught and the chick was on the phone, and Gene Wilder was looking at her from a distance, so he could actually figure out what she was talking about the whole time because he could read lips. So that was one advantage they had. And
And that's what solved the case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Richard Pryor had great sense, so he could tell like if there was people around, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. You know, so exactly. At the same time, they weren't disadvantaged by their disability. If you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
it was just they were in funny scenarios or situations. That,
Look, entirely, I agree with everyone. I think like this actually shows that a deaf guy and a blind guy can solve a crime and have no hindrance in doing it, regardless of their disabilities. I think it was a bit of a rash action from those institutes, but
Yeah.
all right, something I want to talk about straight away though. After they become friends, and Richard Pryor works for Gene Wilder now, and he takes him out to a bar. That bar fight, I loved that bar fight. That was so damn good.
Oh, the doing the Gene Wilder standing behind Richard Pryor, left, right, and calls out 12 o'clock to go and punch straight ahead and what have you.
You're calling out the time for him to punch and stuff.
That was funny, but sorry, this movie actually isn't really one of my favourites. I've got to say, it's kind of a bit hit and miss. Other things that I've found previously, I was like, whatever's, but they leapt out at me.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
I
get
think,
to.
I think the Stooge like this movie more than the three of us.
Yeah,
That's-
I'm a
hands
huge
down.
Richard Pryor fan, but it looked like a choreographed dance sequence with Gene Wilder going right, left, right, 3 o'clock.
It did. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was cute. It was really well done.
80s movie bar fights are the best.
Yeah.
These movie bar fights are the best actually.
I liked as well when they're on the ground
I
afterwards.
think they're half real sometimes. It's like, oh god, they're fighting again. Just film it.
And I'm kind of thinking, where the fuck is the bouncer? But then these two guys are going off each other, and the bouncer hasn't come in and smacked their heads around yet.
It's New York.
Dude, I used to be a bouncer. If I was watching a deaf guy and a blind guy punch the shit out of someone, I would have let that go. But I like it at the end when they're both on the ground and Gene Wilder's like, "Are you all right?" He's like, "Having a great time. We should hang out more often."
Nice.
And then they're gonna get ice cream that night.
And there's some cute moments in this. There's some real like relationship building cute moments. Like when they go get the ice cream and he's like, "I can solve all your problems in 10 seconds." And then puts your ice cream on your head and it's like, "You feel stupid?"
Because you look stupid
That's what
to me,
I'm
damn
saying.
it.
That you would seriously see that at one of those like self-help empowerment seminars. Someone gets up on stage and go, "Right, what's your biggest fear? Looking stupid in front of a bunch of people?" Boink, ice cream cone. I bet you that's being done. Yeah.
Probably. And it was probably taken from this.
Before its time. Yeah.
So
We
what?
talk about Richard Pryor's Swedish accent.
Talk about his really bad acting. Is he a
no.
really bad actor? And
Pryor's great.
he just seems so wooden in this. And I know he's playing a blind guy. But
Right, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
He's not an actor, so he's
Yeah.
just there for the comedy and stuff.
But when he was playing the Swedish, that is
Dr.
actually-
Johansson.
that is pretty funny. Like a seriously black dude playing a Swedish guy. That's.
Sweden's pretty multicultural though.
Now it is.
Oh, I tell you,
Now
there's
It's
a lot of-
the blonde is a stereotype.
there's a lot of blondes there.
You still wouldn't expect Richard Pryor to be Dr. Johansson, the sex therapist for geriatrics.
Oh,
from
God.
Sweden.
And that when
Actually, I did. I believed it.
I love when they ask him, it's like, on your radical therapy, geriatric sex therapy, you say that exercise helps. Like, can you make some suggestions? He's like, well, some people like walking, some people like cycling, but most prefer fucking. You know, boinky boinky.
Nah.
Nah, not feeling it. Not feeling it.
Doesn't work. I'm sorry to be a killjoy here. It just kind of the whole thing felt a bit forced. You know what I mean?
No comment.
I got pizza in my mouth. Someone talk.
Oh, come on, way to back me up, guys.
This movie has inspired me, speaking of comedians doing terrible whodunit hijinksy movies, I'm going to put forward The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Now, have you seen that?
That's really good. I really like that.
Parallels though, like he's a dickhead, right?
Yeah. And Andrew Dice Clay clearly loves Pryor.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
That's a good movie. I've seen that one.
You've seen one. Hey. All right, so someone else I really wanted to talk about as well was Kevin Spacey. Now, we touched on it earlier with the growth on his face and stuff. I liked his accent because it was a parody of what you'd see on TV of American actors trying to do an upper-class English accent. And he's like, that's funny. I'm going to do that as an English accent.
Oh, maybe.
I'm gonna be the evil British villain in every James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what you're saying is it went from bad to the other side of bad and became good.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I think it went from bad to the other side of bad and became good. And then it went to the other side of that good and became bad again.
Oh, that's so rough.
People are dead, for God's sake, Doc. Give them some respect. Rest in peace.
So,
But I'm not dissing Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor.
No, it's all right.
I'm dissing
Kevin Spacey's still alive, and he's just saying he sucks.
Look, I love his accent, his mid-Atlantic accent in House of Cards.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Look, Kevin Spacey is a lot of...
He's American, right? Okay, cool.
So what a lot of people don't know is he's actually a really good impressionist, because he doesn't do it very often. So look up Kevin Spacey doing
Star Wars auditions.
Christopher Walken. Look up Kevin Spacey doing, the Star Wars auditions, as Doc just mentioned. Look up Kevin Spacey doing Jack Nicholson. He does great impressions. So I'm pretty sure this voice was actually an impression. Like, it's a joke that only he knows, and the rest of us are just there for the ride.
Yeah, I'll pay that. Yeah.
So the reason he was cast in this, actually, this is his first major role in a movie. So he'd done like minor work in movies before. Him and Joan Severance, who played Eve, were both cast because of their chemistry in a TV show called Wise Guys that I know nothing about from the mid-'80s.
Is that Wise Guy or Wise Guys?
Wise Guy, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about it, but I haven't really watched it.
So apparently they were in that show, and because of their chemistry, Arthur Hilliard cast them straight out of that into this, no auditions.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool, and this pretty much kicked off Kevin Spacey's career as a main actor in movies. So we have this to thank for that.
I thought that the breakout role was The Usual Suspects.
That was his breakout as far as mainstream, like serious roles. Yeah, but he was in Glengarry Glen Ross. He was in Swimming with Sharks. He was in a bunch of movies before that. It's just The Usual Suspects that propelled him into the main stage. The Negotiator was, I'm pretty sure, before The Usual Suspects.
Yes, he was really good in that. Yeah.
Yeah, him and Samuel L. Jackson. It's fantastic. So, all right, let me know. What scenes did you guys like in this? Someone jump in.
Oh, well, I did. As I said, I like the Swedish impersonation. I like the cop chase scene where before they land in that dump pile, Gene Wilder was like to Richard Pryor saying, "Man, no matter what happens, we'll stick by this. You know, we'll stick through and through, all this stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah," trying to give him like an emotional speech before they crash. And then next scene, they're in that pile of dump floating away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he's like, "Look, I would say thank you, but I can't when I freaking have this stench up my nose this whole time. Like, what are you doing?" And
I love that. Gene Wilder says something like, I'd continue to tell you how grateful I am, except for the smell of garbage that you crashed us into. And Pryor's simple reaction of like, "Is that what that is? I thought you farted. I just didn't want to say anything." And we got the doc laughing. Got the doc laughing.
Yes, it was actually quite funny. I thought the first scene that I really liked was it was pretty short, where Richard Pryor was he's the blind guy. He accidentally ended up helping another blind guy across the road, and they ended up on the lift at the back of a truck, and then they walked into the truck after that.
How am I doing, sis?
I love it. This is a piece of cake. It's easy. Yeah.
Just keep going straight. Just keep going.
You mentioned this before, but the ending was pretty funny too, where the good cop, bad cop was like, "Oh, I can't shoot him. I can't. No, you can't shoot him," and he's putting him in the back of the cop car and stuff, like a little kid. Like,
They broke him. I think he actually had a mental breakdown. Yeah. I think he was done from the force.
Richard Pryor looked at him and was like, "Hey, by the way, you." Like, "Yeah, you're a dickhead," and then just walks off. They're like,
That's it. I'm gonna shoot him.
"No, you're not allowed to shoot him." It's like, "What? Those people?" Like, "Yeah, those people are innocent. Please go and sit down. Put your gun away."
I didn't mind it overall. Honestly, my favorite scene was the opening credits. I just love when New York becomes almost like part of the story. Although, of course, they leave halfway through on the garbage barge. But
and everyone was arguing.
Yeah, all the different neighborhoods. Yeah, all the different ethnic neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And when will the Twin Towers never be too soon to see that? It's like, oh, Twin Towers. Oh, yeah.
Still hurts. It still
I mean,
hurts.
yeah. I really liked when they went to rescue the sister and he gave the dogs peanut butter.
Yeah,
that was so cute.
But okay,
And then all the free dogs are just laying around the peanut butter, just licking it like.
so there was another subplot of this golden coin that gets put on them. That's why the killers are after them. That's why, but nobody like the cops don't know. They don't know.
Superconductor.
Yeah, they find out at the end, but it's really a very, very minor D subplot. It's just basically to move the story forward.
But when I watched it last night, I was watching it and I was thinking, oh, not this movie again, oh, whatevs. and then they talked about superconductor, and I'm like, what?
Like in Switzerland.
Who's the engineer in the room? Who's the engineer in the room?
Obviously, Richard Pryor.
It's been the holy grail of physics, one of the holy grails of physics for like 50 years now. A room temperature superconductor. So
There you go. That's what that means because I had no idea.
it means that you've got you can put so much energy through these things, revolutionize engines, revolutionize computers, blah blah blah. A complete revolution in electricity and electronics, basically.
Folks, he's so excited he has his hands up the whole time. Just talking about
He's right.
I'm emphasizing it. See my everyone who's listening, just look at my hands moving around dramatically.
All right. The reason I brought up the subplot though is you see the back of the ultimate bad guy's head a couple of times. You're not going to understand who I'm talking about because you're too young, Banks, but you guys might. Yeah. Did anyone else think that was Peter O'Toole?
No.
A cheap impression thereof.
No, just the back of the head for like a couple of minutes. I was like, did they get Peter O'Toole in this somehow?
I was feeling James Bond there. I was feeling one of the James Bond villains.
Yeah.
But he's not Blofeld. And he's not. What's the other James Bond name?
Dr. No.
No. There's a few continuing sort of super villains from James. Anyway, whatever. It kind of strikes me as a bit of a James Bondy sort of way to introduce it, because
I felt James Bond.
Yeah, I see exactly where you're coming from. My favorite scene was actually the first interaction between Richard Pryor, and Gene Wilder at the newsstand.
The job application. That comes up a lot on the internet.
Where he's like saying to him, Richard Pryor's trying to apply for a job, but Gene Wilder keeps walking away because other stuff's happening. So he can't keep reading his lips. And then Richard Pryor's getting more and more angry, and it gets to the point where he's like, "What are you, fucking deaf?" And he's like, "Yes, I am." Well, how do you know what I'm saying? I'm reading your lips. And of course, my second, or actually these would go one in one. The interrogation scene. The interrogation scene is so fun when the police chief walks in there, starts questioning them, and he's just yelling out into the room, and Pryor doesn't know he's looking at him because he's blind. He's like, "Why aren't you answering?" "Oh, you talking to me?" And starts answering him. So, "What about you, wise guy? Why aren't you saying anything? He's deaf. You got to be in front of him so he can read your lips." And then does that bit. He's like, "Was there a woman in the..." After the fuzzy wuzzy was a woman. And he replies like all stupidly. He's like, "Why is he talking to me like that?" "'Cause he's deaf, not fucking stupid."
They use swearing a lot in the movie, which is not something I remembered.
The 80s, they got away with it a lot more. And it's Pryor, dude. You put on any Richard Pryor movie, you're going to hear fuck, motherfucker, shit. And speaking of shit, another scene that I love that me and Banks were actually talking about earlier today, the photo scene where they're trying to take their mugshots.
Yeah. Shit.
That was just brilliant. Yeah, and at the end, it's like, is she saying ship, or shit? She's saying shit. That makes much more sense.
Yeah. Why would she be saying ship?
I think some of these scenes now by our modern day sensibilities are a bit on the nose, and that's probably why the Deaf and Blind Association or whomever disavowed it. Because it is a little bit like, really? That's where you're getting your comedy from? Like...
But at the same time, as I said, like, they overcome their disabilities to solve a crime.
Yeah.
There's hijinks along the way. There's 80s titties. There's Richard Pryor being hilarious and Gene Wilder being hilarious. Again, my favorite part of this movie isn't those two either. It's the relationship between the chief and the lieutenant. Go back and watch that. I would love to see a whole movie about those guys.
That scene where Gene Wilder is basically holding up a naked lady with his erection. He's got his fingers stuck he's got his hand stuck in his pants, but it's not the finger that we're seeing sticking out, it's making things. So she's all in the nud in front of him, and he's threatening her effectively with a gun, and I'm thinking, oh, that's really creepy, you know?
No,
It was
excuse me for the
so
mouthful of food. The creepy bit is when Gene Wilder, the actor, not Dave, the character, stops and checks her out in mid-sentence delivery. In another time, in another place, we could have been saying, "Oh, nice titties." Yeah. Keeps going.
Can you blame him though? Can you blame the man? There were some nice 80s titties though.
Is it just me, or did Joan Severance really look like the mother from the girl and How I Met Your Mother, that he ends up hooking up with in Avengers? She looked heaps like her.
I don't watch that.
Robin.
Oh,
Robin.
No,
No?
not really.
Okay.
You're just thinking that because they have the same kind of hair and
eyes.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking. I know where you're coming from, but no.
She's got a very severe 80s look in this show.
Oh, everyone does in the 80s. And the funny thing was, this isn't like 1983. I always thought this was early 80s. It's not. I always forget that the 80s went until like 1994. Like, this is 1989.
Oh, that's a bit of a call. I thought they would have gone. I thought they went to 92, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it did bleed into the grunge period a little bit, dude. I remember that. So, would we recommend this? We'll go around the table, and any final thoughts?
I think it's a good drunk movie.
Okay.
I would not recommend this to my friends unless they had a decent sense of humor. But that's just my opinion. That's all.
You wouldn't recommend a comedy to somebody who doesn't understand comedy. Cool. Gotcha.
As a standalone movie, yes, because it does have a lot of good, like buddy adventure, hijinksy, whodunit narrative. But I want to see Silver Streak and I want to see Stir Crazy first, and then I don't know about the other one. Right. I'd probably recommend them in like a threesome.
Stir Crazy is definitely the best of the four.
Oh, without a doubt.
Foursome, fine.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend it. I've been a fan of this movie since as far back as I can remember. I love Richard Pryor, but that's why I'm the host of this episode, because I recommended it. And I love Pryor. So I forced my taste onto you people. Now, after the next episode going forward, what we're going to do is put a whole bunch of movies, TV shows, all sorts of things in a hat, and then we're going to start drawing from them. Just to kick it off, I did pick the next movie already, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. We've kind of been half waiting for this, but also half dreading this. Yeah. We don't know what it's going to be yet.
Yeah, he's right. What the fuck is it?
There should be some dread. Now, what I did was we've gone real 80s, and we did a bit of a comedy. So this time I thought we'd go really, really 2010s and go an action movie. And a star that really didn't rise until the last couple of years. Now, we're talking about, of course, The Rock. Ooh. This is going to be a Dwayne Johnson movie, but I knew the doctor's giving me a look like I'm going to slap the shit out of you. But don't worry, dude. I've got you covered. It's one of the good ones. This is Faster. It's also starring Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
See, all of a sudden I got an
I thought you were going to say the Tooth Fairy. I thought you might have.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say the Tooth Fairy too. I was like a bit worried. He said 2010 and The Rock. I was like, ooh, Rock. But wait, he made shit movies around that time.
Oh, no.
It's a little bit past that.
This looks bad.
No, this is good. This is actually a good movie.
And for a moment there, you said action movie, and I thought, oh no, it's not going to be a Fast and the Furious movie.
No,
but
that was
thank Christ.
They're coming. But no.
Oh, you bastard.
No, I'm kidding. No, this.
Drift's alright. I'll put that on my list.
You would put Tokyo Drift on your list.
What do you mean, Tokyo Drift?
Drift the fuck out.
Did they have any ramen in Tokyo Drift?
Yeah, but there's more just like Asian girls running around going, ee, like who can drift better? Ee.
Well, as long as they've got ramen in it, that's the important thing.
Yeah, no, there'll be some sort of ramen in it.
No, you said, yeah, there will be. You haven't actually confirmed that
there's a
there is.
ramen scene, I'm pretty sure. Alright, but Faster is actually an interesting movie. It's more of an independent, So it's not actually a huge blockbuster film. It relies very heavily
I think
on.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It
Yeah, I
reli-
think I've seen it. Is it the one where he's got...
What? Save it for the episode.
Oh, I think I might know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
So yeah, this is a big fan of Billy Bob. Of course, growing up in the 90s as a wrestling fan, I'm a fan of The Rock. Let's check this out and see what we think of that. And from then on in, we're pulling names out of a hat. So you guys better bring some suggestions for the next
Bring
episode.
it.
So
We'll
this,
bring it.
I will definitely bring it.
I'll bring it as well. Don't you worry.
you better bring it.
I'm bringing it, dude. Bringing it.
There's a little
Bring it
movie
back.
scene for you from us.
I'm bringing it back like Britney Spears bring Pop back.
Yeah, no.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our entire panel, and there'll be mixes of this going forward, depending on who can make it, who can't make it. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you watch faster between now and next week, so you can join along in the hijinks that will ensue, I'm sure. I have been your host, The Stooge. I'm joined by...
Brendan the dog.
G Banks.
The Knockout Fiona.
And don't forget, until next time, adventure, excitement. Stooge craves not these things. Welcome to the Stooge Revolution.